The strange cry in the forest. Ethan walked alone near the edge of the forest. The wind was cold and the red sky above looked strange. This planet was not Earth. He was here for a repair job, working on a distant outpost far from any city. Ethan liked quiet places, but tonight something felt different. As he stepped over dry leaves and broken branches, he heard something. It was soft at first, like a weak cry. He stopped and listened again. The sound came again, like a small animal in pain. He turned and walked slowly toward the noise. The forest was darker here. The trees were tall and their leaves were blue. He moved carefully, unsure of what he would find. His boots sank into the soft ground. The crying grew louder. Then he saw it. Under a fallen tree branch, there was a small creature. It was curled up and shaking. Its fur glowed softly like starlight. One of its legs was bleeding. Its eyes were large and they stared at Ethan with fear and pain. Ethan dropped to one knee and looked closer. "Hey," he said gently. "Are you hurt?" Of course, the creature didn't answer. But it didn't run either. It just looked at him as if asking for help. He looked around. No other creatures were near. No traps. No signs of danger. Carefully, he reached into his backpack and pulled out a cloth. He moved slowly and placed it on the wound. The creature twitched but didn't bite or scratch. "You're okay now," Ethan whispered. "I'll help you." As he worked, he noticed the creature's body was warm, much warmer than normal. Its skin under the fur was smooth and soft. Its breathing was fast but calming down. It made a soft noise, a sound of trust. Ethan smiled a little. "You're not just any animal, are you?" Far away, on a floating island high in the sky, someone else watched. A round screen showed a small image of Ethan holding the creature. The screen glowed, and soft alarms beeped. Princess Irina sat up straight in her silver chair. Her eyes widened. "Starla," she whispered. Starla was her pet. Not just any pet, but one born from a rare line, connected to her family's power. Starla had gone missing 5 days ago. The entire royal guard had searched every valley, every cave, every shadow. And now, this human had found her. Irina stared at the screen. The human looked kind. He moved slowly and carefully. He was not rough or cruel. She watched as he tied the cloth around the injured leg. Starla didn't cry anymore. She even rested her head near his foot. "He's a stranger," one of her guards said. "He must be captured. He should not touch her." "No," Irina said firmly. "Wait." The guard looked surprised. "But Princess—" I said wait. Her voice was calm but strong. She stared at the screen again. "Let's see what he does next." Back on the ground, Ethan gently lifted the creature. It was light and warm in his arms. He placed it in a small bag, keeping its head out so it could breathe. "Let's go home," he said softly. The creature made a low, musical sound. As he walked back to his shelter, he didn't notice the 2 flying drones watching from above, small, silent, hidden in the trees. They followed him, recording everything. Back in the floating palace, Princess Irina watched closely. "Who is he?" she asked. Her assistant answered. "Ethan Cross, human technician, works for the outer repair crews, lives alone. No criminal record." "He didn't even know who she was," Irina said. "Yes, Princess, he doesn't know that Starla is royal property." She nodded. And yet, he showed more care than most nobles would. In his small home, Ethan cleaned the wound again. He gave the creature a few drops of water and broke a protein bar into tiny pieces. The creature licked it and blinked slowly. Ethan sat beside it and leaned back. "I guess I've got company. Tonight." He didn't know his quiet life was about to change. He didn't know the creature in his home was more valuable than gold. He didn't know that a royal was watching him closely. As the creature closed its eyes and rested, Ethan also felt his own eyes grow heavy. Outside, the wind blew softly through the trees. Far above, the princess whispered to herself, "Who are you, human?" And in the dark night sky, the game of fate had already begun. The hidden eyes of the palace princess Irina stood in silence, her silver robe flowing like water behind her. Her golden eyes stayed fixed on the screen in front of her. It showed a simple human man inside a small home, wrapping her missing creature with care and gentleness. No one had ever touched Starla like that. No one outside the royal bloodline. The creature was not just a pet. She was sacred. A symbol of the throne. A creature that trusted no one except the princess. And yet, there she was, resting her head beside this unknown human's leg. The guards behind Irina waited for her command. Their hands were already on their weapons. Their orders were simple. Retrieve Starla, and if anyone stood in the way, remove him. But Irina raised her hand. No one touches him, she said softly. The lead guard frowned. Princess, he is just a worker, a nobody. He has broken royal law. Has he? She asked without looking away from the screen. He didn't steal Starla. He found her hurt, and he helped her, without asking for anything. The room stayed quiet. Irina's voice grew colder. And look at Starla. Does she look like she wants to leave? The small creature on the screen was sleeping peacefully. Her wounds were bandaged. Her tail was curled in trust, and her body glowed faintly, only when she felt safe. Irina folded her arms. Send watchers. No harm to him. I want to see what kind of heart this human has. Outside her tower, invisible drones flew through the clouds and down toward the forest again. Silent, hidden and loyal only to the crown. Down below, Ethan didn't know anything was watching him. He moved around his small shelter, setting a soft cloth under the creature's head. He placed a bowl of water beside her and dimmed the lights. You're safe now, he whispered. Then he sat at the corner of the room and stared. His mind was full of questions. What kind of creature was this? Why was it glowing? Why did its eyes feel intelligent? He looked out the window. The forest was still. The stars above looked unfamiliar. Maybe I should call the outpost, he said to himself. Let them know I found something. But he didn't. Something in his heart told him to wait. Something told him this wasn't a normal rescue. He leaned back and slowly closed his eyes. Far above, the princess turned off the screen and stood. Prepare my private shuttle, she told her assistant. I'm going down there. The guard stepped forward quickly. Princess, that is not safe. We can send soldiers. I am not sending an army to meet a kind man, she replied. I will go alone. But why? Irina's eyes narrowed. Because something is different about him. The creature chose him. I want to see why. Back in the forest, the drone scanned every detail. The human's voice, his movement, his expressions. They sent everything back to the royal ship. But not everyone in the palace agreed with the princess. Deep in another chamber, an elder noble saw the same images. His face grew angry. A human? Touching royal blood? This is an insult. He called his private soldiers. Follow the princess. If she shows weakness, report it. If the human steps out of line, erase him. Now 2 kinds of watchers moved through the sky. One followed orders. The other followed hate. Ethan woke up early. The creature was still sleeping, but her glow was stronger. Her wound looked better. She opened her eyes and let out a soft chirp when she saw him. Hey, you're awake. He smiled. Feeling better? She stepped forward and rubbed her head against his leg. Ethan laughed a little. Okay, I guess we're friends now. He still didn't know someone was already on their way to his home. Not a soldier, not a threat, but a princess with questions in her heart. The door alarm blinked red. He looked up, confused. No one ever visited him. He walked slowly toward the door, unsure. As it slid open, he froze. Standing outside, tall and glowing in the morning light, was the alien princess herself. No guards, no armor, just her, and eyes full of mystery. She looked at him and said, You have something that belongs to me. He didn't know he was holding royal blood. Ethan stood frozen in the doorway. He had seen many aliens during his travels, tall ones with scales, short ones with eyes on their hands, but none like her. The woman in front of him seemed to glow from within. Her skin shimmered like silver under sunlight. Her eyes were golden, deep like oceans and sharp like blades. She wore no crown, no weapons, no soldiers behind her, but somehow she looked more powerful than anyone he had ever met. Ethan's voice caught in his throat. "Who are you?" The woman didn't answer. She stepped inside, slowly, eyes scanning everything. Her gaze stopped when she saw the small creature lying on the cloth, resting peacefully with bandages around its leg. "Starla," she said softly. The creature raised its head and chirped. Once, clear and happy, it leapt into her arms and curled against her chest, purring like a song. Ethan finally found his voice. "That's her name?" "Yes," the woman replied, holding the creature close. "She is mine." Ethan looked confused. "I didn't know. I just found her hurt. I couldn't leave her." The woman turned to him, studying his face. "You cleaned her wounds. You gave her food. You stayed awake to protect her. You treated her like a friend." Ethan shrugged. "Wouldn't anyone?" "No," she said. "Not everyone." There was silence between them for a moment. Then she spoke again. "I am Irina, daughter of Queen Valestra, heir to the throne of Lissari." Ethan blinked. "Wait, you're a princess?" "Yes." His heart skipped a beat. Suddenly he remembered. Someone once told him, royal creatures on Lissari were never to be touched by outsiders. It was considered sacred law. Breaking it meant exile. Or worse. "I didn't know," he said quickly. "If I had known she was yours, You would have left her to die?" she asked, her voice calm but sharp. "No," Ethan said firmly. "Never." Princess Irina stared at him again. "That is why I am here." Ethan was silent. She looked down at Starla, who was still curled in her arms, but her tail flicked gently toward Ethan. It was a sign. A bond had been formed. "She chose you," Irina said. "And that is rare. Very rare." "What does it mean?" Irina walked toward the window and looked out into the forest. "Starla was born with a connection to the royal bloodline. She senses truth, kindness, and loyalty. She does not trust easily. But you passed something no test ever could." Ethan rubbed the back of his neck. "I didn't pass anything. I just saw a hurt creature, that's all." "And that," she said, turning to him, "is exactly what makes you different." Far above them in the clouds, the secret drones kept watching. Every word, every movement, every blink, it was all being sent to the palace. And in a cold room, filled with powerful nobles, whispers began. He touched royal blood. He made a bond. He must be erased. But back in the little home, Ethan was still trying to understand. "So what happens now?" he asked. "You've got your pet back. Do I just go back to my job?" Irina was quiet for a long moment. Then she said something that changed everything. "I'm not here just to take Starla," she said. "I'm here to take you." Ethan's eyebrows rose. "Take me?" "Yes. To the floating city. To my palace. There are things happening now that cannot be undone. You touched what no outsider should have. But instead of death, I offer you something else." "What exactly are you offering?" he asked carefully. "Answers," she said, "and a place beside me, if you are strong enough to accept it." Outside, the sky began to shift. The wind carried a new sound. Ships moving, in silence, but not all of them were friendly. Inside, Ethan took a breath. He didn't know what the future held, but he knew one thing now. This was no ordinary rescue. This was the beginning of something bigger than him. Much, much bigger. The princess stepped into his world, but not everyone wanted him alive. Ethan had seen machines explode. He had repaired fuel lines under pressure. He had even walked through storms on toxic planets. But nothing made his heart pound like standing in front of a real alien princess. She was now sitting at his table. Starla, the glowing creature he had rescued, lay curled beside her. Irina gently stroked the creature's fur, but her eyes were locked on Ethan. Sharp, unblinking. Curious. Ethan poured 2 cups of warm root tea. His hands shook just a little. He placed one in front of her and sat down across the table. For a few seconds, neither of them spoke. Then she said something that made his blood run cold. "There's a bounty on your life." Ethan blinked. "I'm sorry, what?" "The High Council saw the bond between you and Starla, and they see it as a threat," she said plainly. "They believe you stole her, or tricked her. They think your kindness is a game." Ethan laughed. "Once, but there was no joy in it." "A game? I just helped her because she was hurt, that's all." "I know," Irina replied. "But power fears what it cannot control, and Starla choosing you? That's something they did not expect." Outside, something shimmered in the trees. A small drone floated high above the roof, sending signals to a hidden ship in the clouds. On board were shadow soldiers, ones that did not follow the princess. Their orders were clear: remove the human quietly. Irina looked toward the window. "They're already watching." Ethan stood up quickly. "We need to leave." But Irina shook her head. "If you run, you'll look guilty. If you hide, they will find you. You must face them. But not here." "Then where?" Ethan asked. "Home," she said. "Where I have power, where they cannot lie in the dark. Come with me to the floating palace. Let them look at you, let them hear you, and let them see the truth." Ethan looked down at Starla. She was watching him with her soft, glowing eyes. Somehow he felt she understood everything. "You want me to walk into the home of people who want me dead?" he said. "Yes," Irina answered. Ethan gave a half smile. "You royal types sure ask a lot." But he didn't say no. Irina stood and pressed her hand to a small device on her wrist. Outside, a royal shuttle appeared from the clouds, almost silent, made of glass and gold light. Ethan grabbed a small bag and glanced around his little home. It had always been quiet, safe, simple, but deep inside, he knew his life had already changed the moment he heard that soft cry in the forest. Turned back to Irina. "Let's go." They stepped outside. The wind was colder now. He didn't notice the small black dot following from the sky, the hidden kill drone waiting for a signal. As they walked toward the shuttle, Starla moved between them, glowing brighter than before. She looked up once and chirped loud and sharp. That sound echoed. Irina froze. "Get down!" She pulled Ethan to the side just as a sharp blast hit the ground behind them. A tree exploded in sparks. Another blast followed, aimed directly at Ethan. But before it could strike, Starla leapt into the air and released a blinding wave of blue light. The drone shattered. Ethan stared in shock. "What was that?" "Starla's true power," Irina said, helping him up. "She protects those she loves." The guards from the royal shuttle rushed forward now, forming a shield around them. The attack was over, but the message was clear. Someone wanted Ethan dead. Now. "Change of plan," Irina said sharply to her guards. "No more walking. We fly. Now." Inside the shuttle, Ethan sat beside the princess. Starla curled up between them. As the shuttle rose into the clouds, Ethan looked down one last time at the quiet forest now scarred by fire. "Your world isn't as peaceful as it looks," he said. Irina replied without looking at him. "Neither is yours." They flew higher toward the palace in the sky, but Ethan didn't feel safe. Not yet. Because up ahead the real fight was waiting, and this time, it wasn't just about survival. It was about truth. He walked into the Sky Palace, but his very presence was illegal. The shuttle broke through the clouds like a knife through soft cloth. Above them, the floating palace of Lissari came into view, An enormous city made of shining crystal, golden bridges and towers that moved like they were alive. Ethan leaned toward the glass, speechless. He had never seen anything so beautiful, and yet it felt cold, unwelcoming, like the palace itself knew he didn't belong. Inside the shuttle, Princess Irina watched him closely. She knew what was waiting at the top: the nobles, the council, the laws carved in stone. All of them would look at this human and see nothing but a mistake. "You need to understand something," she said calmly. "Just by stepping into that palace, you are breaking royal law. No outsider has ever done it." Ethan turned to her. "Then why am I still alive?" "Because Starla chose you," she replied, "and because I believe in what I saw." He said nothing. He wasn't used to people believing in him, especially not royalty. The shuttle landed gently on a glowing landing platform. Guards in silver armor stood in two perfect lines, watching with blank faces. No one bowed. No one smiled. Ethan stepped out beside Irina, and every eye turned toward him like knives. He walked forward. Every step felt heavy, like he was walking into a trap. They entered the Hall of Judgment, long, bright, and echoing. At the end sat the High Council. 7 figures, old and powerful, with faces like stone. One of them spoke without kindness. "You bring a human into the palace, Princess Irina. Do you wish to explain this insult?" "I do," she said proudly. "This is Ethan Cross. He found Starla injured in the wild. He did not run. He did not take her. He healed her. And she accepted him," another council member sneered. "Many would fake kindness for gain. Starla does not choose lightly," Irina answered. "You all know that." An older noble leaned forward. His voice was cold. "Royal creatures bond only to the purest hearts. If what you say is true, then the old law binds us, but if it is not..." He looked at Ethan. "Then this outsider dies before sunset." Ethan felt something twist inside his chest, but he stayed silent. Irina turned to him. "You may speak." He looked at the council, feeling the weight of hundreds of eyes. He wasn't a warrior. He wasn't a hero. He was a repair tech from a forgotten part of space. But he met their eyes and said in simple words, "I didn't know she was royal. I didn't care. I saw a living creature in pain. I helped her. That's it." One of the council members leaned back. "And yet she bonded to you. Are you claiming to be noble?" Ethan shook his head. "No, I'm just human." Starla, who had stayed near the princess's feet, walked to Ethan and jumped into his arms. Her body glowed brighter than ever. Wave of warmth filled the room. The council gasped. Some stood in shock. This kind of glow was rare. It only came from full trust, royal-level loyalty. "It is true," one whispered. "The creature has chosen." But the oldest member stood and slammed a crystal staff on the floor. "I refuse to believe it. The law is broken. This must be stopped." He raised his hand to signal the guards, but Irina stepped forward fast. "Enough. You hide behind old laws and fear. But what we see here is truth. Starla has chosen, and I support her choice." The guard stopped. Silence. Ethan looked around. The council was split. Some shocked, some furious, some thinking deeply. Then, in a quiet voice, the middle council member finally spoke. "The law is old, but still clear. If a royal creature chooses someone beyond blood and shows the sign of bonding, we must respect it." He looked at Ethan with sharp eyes. "From this moment on, you are under royal protection." Irina nodded, her voice calm but strong. "He is not just a visitor. He is part of this story now." Ethan stood there holding Starla, feeling like the floor had just disappeared beneath him. He had entered the palace as a stranger. Now, he was tied to the most powerful creature in the empire. And everyone in the room knew. This was only the beginning. The human touched royal blood. now whispers of rebellion. Ethan had never been in a place so beautiful and so dangerous. The floating palace of Lissari sparkled under the twin suns. Crystal towers hummed with soft music. The walls changed color as the day moved forward. It looked like heaven. But behind the beauty, something darker was growing. Servants whispered behind curtains. Guards exchanged cold glances. Nobles lowered their voices when Ethan passed. Even the walls, though silent, seemed to judge him. The human had broken tradition. The human had touched royal blood, and now he was walking freely inside the palace. Ethan noticed it, the way people stepped back from him, the way doors closed just a little too fast, but he didn't say anything. He followed Princess Irina through the halls, Starla always close by. The little creature stayed calm only when Ethan was near, as if his presence was a shield. Irina noticed too. She had spent her life in this palace, but now it felt colder. More eyes, more silence. That evening, she took Ethan to the Garden of Light, a secret place few had seen. It floated above the palace, a circle of glowing plants, soft wind, and silence. Here the air is clean, she said, and the ears of the council cannot reach us. Ethan sat on a stone bench looking out at the stars. They hate me, he said simply. No, Irina replied. They fear you. He glanced at her. Because I helped an injured animal? No, she said. Because you didn't ask who she belonged to before helping her. Because you didn't kneel. You didn't bow. You showed kindness without being told. That is power. Ethan was quiet for a while. I'm no hero. Irina smiled gently. Then it's good you never claimed to be one. The air between them changed. Softer, warmer. The stars above flickered. For a moment, the silence felt peaceful. But far below, in the Hall of Shadows, other voices were rising. He must be removed, an old noble hissed. The people speak of him. Some call him pure-hearted. Some say the creature's glow is proof of destiny. We are losing control of the story. He's just a worker, another spat. One unlucky man, easily crushed, but not all agreed. Young noble in black armor leaned forward. Crushing him now would only prove their side right. We need a plan. Something quiet, something clever. Back in the Garden of Light, Irina suddenly touched her wrist device. Her face tightened. What is it? Ethan asked. There was a break-in near the Royal Archives, she said. Someone tried to erase records. Only high nobles have access. There. Ethan stood. You think it's about me? Irina nodded slowly. Yes. Someone wants to remove your name, your presence, your story. They want me to vanish. They want you to never have existed, she said. Starla let out a sharp chirp, sensing tension. Ethan clenched his fists. So what now, I hide again? No, she replied. You stand taller. That night, she did something bold. In front of 1,000 watchers during the royal evening walk, Princess Irina stepped beside Ethan and took his hand. Gasps filled the air. Cameras turned. Nobles froze. It was not just a gesture. It was a statement. This human, this outsider, was no longer a secret. He was her chosen guest and perhaps more. Back in the Hall of Shadows, the nobles grew restless. The girl has gone too far. The people will talk. The elder slammed his staff again. Then let them talk, and while they do, we prepare something permanent. In the quiet halls of the palace, hidden machines began to move. Someone had just ordered Ethan's assassination, but no one warned Starla. And Starla never forgave. He saved a creature. Now that creature might save his life. The palace was too quiet. Not peaceful, but heavy. Like the silence before a storm, Ethan felt it in his bones. Every hallway seemed colder. Every guard seemed still. Too still. He wasn't a soldier, but he wasn't stupid. Something was wrong. He didn't know what. He just knew it was close. Princess Irina stood beside him in her private chambers. Her eyes were sharp now, no longer soft like in the garden. She had changed. The council's whispers, the nobles' threats. They had pushed her too far. "They will strike soon," she said. "They're afraid the people will see you not as a mistake, but as a sign." Ethan didn't fully understand. A sign of what? "That blood doesn't make someone worthy," she said. "That kindness a ton does." He opened his mouth to answer, but then the walls shook. A deep sound roared through the palace like thunder underwater. Lights flickered. Starla jumped into Ethan's arms and hissed, a sound no one had ever heard from her before. "What was that?" Ethan asked. Irina pressed her wrist device. No answer. She tried again. Still silence. Then a voice came from the wall speakers. Code black. "Intruders." Inside the royal core, guards began shouting outside, running, blades drawn. The air shifted. Irina looked at Ethan. "They're not just coming for you. They're coming for me, too." Ethan's heart pounded. "Why?" "Because I refuse to be silent," she said. She took his hand. "Come with me." They ran through the crystal halls, past stunned servants, past silent statues. The golden floors now cracked from tremors. Ethan held Starla close as the creature shook with tension. Then, from the shadows, blades flashed. A squad of masked attackers stepped into view, their armor black with no symbols. Not royal, not official, just killers. "Hand him over," one said. "Or fall beside him." Irina stood in front of Ethan. "You have no right." The first attacker lunged. Ethan barely had time to shout. But Starla leapt from his arms. The air exploded with blue light. Everyone froze. The attackers screamed, shielding their eyes. Starla's body hovered in the air, her glow so bright the shadows vanished. Her fur stood on end. The ground trembled. One attacker fired his weapon. The blast never reached Ethan. Starla moved faster than sound, slamming into the soldier with a force that broke his armor. She turned to the others, eyes glowing white. One by one, they dropped their weapons and ran. The hall fell silent. Ethan couldn't breathe for a moment. Starla landed softly, blinking, her glow fading to a gentle light. She returned to his arms, like nothing had happened. Irina stared at her with awe. No one knew she could do that. Ethan held her close. She was waiting, for the right reason. Later that night, the truth came out. A recording from the fight, sent to every screen across the floating cities. It showed Ethan shielding Starla. It showed Starla protecting him. It showed Princess Irina choosing to stand beside a human when the Empire turned its back. The people saw, and the palace changed. The old nobles could not silence what the stars had already witnessed. The law could not erase what the people now believed. A new story began. Not of war, not of blood, but of a man who helped a creature for no reason at all, and became the first outsider to be named a guardian of the crown. Ethan didn't ask for a title. He didn't want power. He only stayed because of a small creature with starlight in her fur, and a princess with fire in her soul. And somewhere in the sky where new laws were being written and old fears began to fade, the stars shined a little brighter, because kindness had changed everything.